Okay, so sit yourself on your lift. Come into a good, decent cross-leg position so that there's levelness beneath your seat bones and your feet, the outer edge of your feet make good contact with the floor and conscious contact with the floor. So just feel that you're sitting level and then observe how the outside edge of the foot makes contact with the floor. So the one that's at the front, often it kind of rolls onto the top of the foot, and the one at the on the back, if you like, it's just strictly the kind of sharp edge, or not necessarily. Sometimes it's the top of the foot, but make the sharp edge of the foot make connection with the floor, and do the same with the front foot. So you kind of really connect to the outside edge of the foot. Hold onto your knees and lift and open the chest. So especially if you're a little kind of groggy or a little tired from not sleeping well, just give yourself a good lift of the front chest. And then some deep inhalations and deep exhalations. Just fill your lungs with the energy of the breath. Feeling the chest rising upwards and outwards with the in-breath, and then the chest relaxing and contracting with the out-breath. Filling the lungs from the bottom to the top, and emptying the lungs from the top to the bottom. Bring your hands into Namaste, press the palms firmly together. With an exhalation, close your eyes. And then just focus on the breath. Draw your attention into the breath. Every now and then, perhaps you can retain the top of the in-breath, just for a second or two. So the retention, that moment of kumbhaka, is just a moment of suspended breath without grip. So it's just a moment of suspension before the out-breath. If you've got heart conditions or blood pressure issues, then just normal breathing without the retention. Just focusing on the breath, drawing your attention into the breath. With an exhalation, draw your chin down to meet your chest. Spend a moment to seek to generate a genuine, heartfelt sense of gratitude for something, somewhere, or someone. And then release hold on to that feeling of abundance in the heart area, and then release your hands down to meet your knees. And as you raise your head, allow your eyes to gently open. Just hold onto your knees and lift and open the chest. We're just going to do a little bit of alternate nostril breathing, just because that also brings lots of energy into the brain, and it's good if you've not slept very well. So it's a good way of just kind of reigniting the energy in the brain. So the simplest way to do alternate nostril breathing is just to hold the nostril with the thumb or with the ring finger, and so you exhale and inhale through the same nostril. So we always start with an exhalation. So you exhale and then cover the right nostril and then inhale, and then cover the other nostril and then exhale and then inhale, and then you cover the nostril and then you exhale and inhale. So you start on a normal exhalation and then you cover and then you inhale and then swap, and then it's an inhalation then an exhalation through the nostrils. I'll talk you through it as we go. Make the breath quite relatively forceful, so you can really it really helps to clear out the sinuses as well. So just a few normal breaths to start off with, just to get a sense of the rhythm of the breath. And then after the next exhalation, cover the right nostril. And then cover the right nostril, inhale. Cover the left nostril, exhale and inhale. And cover the right nostril, exhale, inhale. And then when you've done your 10, just release and then go back to normal breath. So just spending a little time just observing the breath, feeling how much more the chest can rise upwards, and perhaps you can feel the lungs more effectively. Take a deep inhalation, and then with an exhalation, turn to the right side. So annulum pranayama, it's the alternate nostril breath. Just really wakes up the brain. So filling the lungs with energy and exhaling, using that energy, converting it into power. Power in the pose. Come back to the center. Hold onto the knees, lift the chest. Inhaling energy. Exhaling power. So the out breath propels the energy of the in breath around the body, drawing it towards the heart. Allowing the heart to pump that energy out through the heart into every living cell of the body. And then come back to the center, and then come up off your lift. So sitting back on your heels, and then just wriggle into your seat bones. Take a deep inhalation. With that inhalation, lift and open the chest. With the exhalation, descend the back chest. So the area around the shoulder blades, draw the skin down the back. Maintain that descent of the back chest, hinge at the hips, and then stretch forwards, come forwards into Adho Mukha virasana, just wriggling into the hips, breathing evenly. Lifting the sternum bone. So if you remember what we were doing yesterday, we were lifting that sternum bone so you could look up in kind of all four poses. And then bring the head down. Breathing evenly and deeply. Lengthening into the hands so that you can lengthen the armpits from the top to the bottom, and then broaden the armpits out to the sides of the room. So you gather your shoulder blades together, draw your armpits out to look at the sides of the room. So that the armpits can see the sides of the room. Come up onto all fours. Turn your toes under. Bring your hands as wide apart as the mat, your feet as wide apart as the mat, and then come up into dog down. So straightening your legs, but then working into that sternum region, lifting the sternum. Hit the kneecaps into the sockets, hit the fronts of the legs through to the backs of the legs, turning the fronts of the thighs inwards. Just breathing evenly and deeply. Turning the armpits to look out to the sides of the room. Just initiating the body, initiating the observation, activation process. So we go into the body through observation, feeling through, or observing through feeling. So observe where there are feelings of dullness, where there are feelings of resistance. then step your feet forwards, just come up into a standing position. And then using the blocks for your hands for half uttanasana. So bring your feet as wide apart as your mat. Turning your toes inwards, lift and open the chest, tighten your kneecaps, hinge at the hips. So the elbows wing towards each other behind you, lifting the elbows up towards the ceiling as you come down, and then reach down and find the blocks. So be on the tall edge of the blocks. Yesterday we went down first and then came back to the blocks because then we realised what the blocks do. So the blocks give us access into the spine. So breathe evenly and deeply. Just observe both legs working identically. Chances are they're probably not. So observe the enthusiastic leg and then get the other leg to follow. Projecting the chin and the chest forwards. If you go down a little bit lower, then do. If you can reach the floor, then reach the floor. So using the blocks to protect your back if you need to. Just continue to observe the feeling of the legs. If you can lengthen your chest forwards a little more and then bring your hands around the backs of your heels and draw the body in. But we're keeping the front chest long as we go down. And then bring your hands back into half uttanasana. And then again, if you can bring your palms down, then do. If you can't bring your palms down onto the floor, use the blocks and then bring your palms down onto the blocks. So normally we avoid going down onto palms because going down onto the palms is a kind of a drop-in action. It makes you kind of collapse into the hands. So press the palms into the floor or into the blocks and then lift from the wrists up into the armpits and then look forwards. So this is a little bit like how a dog or a cat or a cow or whatever sees the world, isn't it? So they have to lift the sternum bone really distinctly in order to see upwards. I mean, they have different necks and obviously they're kind of built for this position where we're not, but you can feel that if the more you lift that sternum bone, the more you can see upwards and forwards. So it's that action of lifting the sternum bone. That's the important action I want to bring into the other poses. Just walk your hands forwards. It's quite strong on your back though, isn't it? So just practice a bit of a himsa and then step back into dog down. And then lift the sternum bone. Lift the sternum bone in the way that you were, almost so that you can see your hands. Just let your head hang down, but keep lifting that sternum bone. Breathing evenly. Deeply lifting that sternum bone. And then come back down into Adho Mukha Virasana. And again, work that sternum bone upwards, really lift the sternum up like you were doing when you're on that all fours action with the palms on the floor. Lift and drive forwards with the sternum bone. Come forwards, find the hands on the floor, but before you drop your head, lift that sternum bone, really work into the sternum bone as you come forwards, lifting that sternum bone, trying to draw it down to the floor, and then bring your head down. You'll find that your head is much closer to the floor. Try and maintain the connection between the seat bones and the heels at the same time. Okay, and then just sit back on your heels. Just lift that sternum bone, gather your shoulder blades together, drawing your shoulder blades, your shoulders away from your ears. And then just come up into a standing position. Just get a belt where you can reach it, because we'll need that in a moment or two. So just come into Tadasana. Just be in Tadasana, inner edge of the feet together. Lift and open the chest, activating the legs, lifting that sternum bone, really driving that sternum bone forwards. And then stretch forwards with the left hand. Draw your attention into each individual finger, even though you can't see one of the hands. And then bring the other hand forwards. Like there's a force field between the hands, keeping them together. And then raise your arms up. Lift your toes to activate your legs. And then release the arms down. It's just breathing evenly and deeply. So lift and open the chest. Bring your arms forwards. Again, just draw your attention into each individual finger. So feel each finger. Turn the palms out away from each other, so the backs of the hands are facing each other. And then, like you're doing the breaststroke, press the air away as you reach behind you. Keep reaching behind you, and then bring the hands up into Namaste, behind the back, namaskarasana, sorry, I can say it now. So lift and open the chest, namaskarasana. Lift and open the chest, drive that sternum bone upwards. Breathing evenly and deeply. It's a little while since we've done shoulder work, isn't it? So maybe it feels good, maybe it feels strong. So lifting that sternum bone upwards, lengthening the elbows towards the back of the room, pressing the elbows in towards each other so that the heel of the hand comes down. Try and press the palms of the hands flat. And then just release the chest a little, and then release your arms, stretch the fingers, resist the temptation to shake the fingers. Stretch your arms forwards, interlock your fingers, turn the palms all the way out, and then raise your arms over your head. Baddhakonasana. Breathing evenly and deeply. Connecting the energy of the in-breath with the out-breath, distributing that energy around the body. And then release. Lift and open the chest, stretch your arms out in front, turn the palms all the way out, and then again reach behind you. Keep your arms high as much as you can, and then bring the fingers up towards the neck as much as you can. And then from there, broaden the front collarbone, and then see if you can bring the palms to make contact behind you. Lifting that sternum bone. The more you lift that sternum bone, the more space you have to bring your hands into namaste behind the back. Namaskarasana. Breathe in evenly, deeply, accommodating the pose with the chest. Lengthen from the armpits down into the elbows, drawing the elbows down in towards each other. And then just gently relax the chest, just let the chest drop a little, and then release your arms, and then lift and open the chest again. Stretch your arms forwards, interlock your fingers the kind of unnatural way, so the opposite index finger is on the top. Turn the palms all the way out, and then raise your arms. So maybe notice a clarity in the sinuses. And then just gently release the arms and come back into Tadasana. Just stay in Tadasana. And then bring a belt for gomukhasana. Just put the belt over one shoulder. And then just return into your Tadasana. So you got it over the right shoulder. So just feel the warmth of the shoulders. Stretch your left arm forwards, really spreading the palms. And then turn the palm all the way out. So when we turn the palm, it's not just turning the hand, not just turning the wrist, it's turning the whole of the arm. So the whole of the arm rotates all the way out. And then maintain that turning action, especially of the upper arm. As you reach around behind you, really rotating in the socket, and then you bring the hand up the back as close to the neck as you can. You can assist in that hand with the opposite arm. And then raise your right arm up to the ceiling, Urdhva Hastasana arm. And then keep the elbow the highest thing in the pose, lengthening into the elbow as you bend your arm, and then you take hold. If you can't take hold, you just take hold of your belt. So grip, or hold onto the hands, not grip, that's not a good word. So hold onto the hands, hold onto the fingers as much as you can. And then go back into your Tadasana. From the feet, activating the legs, the kneecaps, the thighs, lifting the chest, driving that sternum bone upwards. And that sternum bone gives you more space in the back to bring the hands together. Try and creep the hands a little closer together. Try and pull the bottom elbow down to the floor, the top elbow up towards the ceiling. So gomukhasana, the head of the cow. And then gently release the top arm. Just drop the chest a little to release the other arm. Again, resist the temptation to shake the fingers, but stretch into the fingertips. Just breathe evenly. Let the body recover. So it's quite intense in the left shoulder, isn't it? Just swap the belt over so you got it onto your left side. So as you know, this shoulder for me is my stiff shoulder, and I often struggle to kind of connect the hands behind me, so I have to use the belt for this side. Let's see how we are today. So just be in Tadasana, lift, really drive that chest upwards, and then reach forwards with the right hand. Turn the palm and the wrist and the upper arm, rotating that upper arm in the socket, and then see if you can walk that hand as close up towards the neck as you can. And then reach up with the other arm. Just stretch out of the previous pose. Just feel that pleasurable extension out of the previous pose. And then reach down. Oh, I can actually just about get there today. So I've got connection with nearly all of my fingers, not the little finger, but just to start off with, that's not bad. So work from the feet upwards. Work from the chest. Breathe in evenly and deeply. After a little while, see if you can walk your hands a little closer together. Pulling the upper elbow up towards the ceiling, the bottom elbow down to the floor. Okay, and then just release that top arm. Gently release the bottom arm. Just take the belt off and then lift and open the chest, drive the spine upwards. Stretch your arms forwards and then reach up in virasana. Turning the palms to face each other. Lifting the chest, keeping the feet working to be evenly placed on the floor, lifting the legs up into the hips, into the armpits, and then release. Just breathing evenly and deeply. Reach behind you and interlock your fingers behind your back. Have your feet hip width apart, turning your toes inwards. And then can you straighten your arms and then lift your arms up away from the seat bones, lifting the chest. The more you lift the chest, the more you can lift up into the seat bones. And then maybe come forwards, hinging at the hips. Just come halfway if you've got a back problem, or keep coming down, lifting that sternum bone. Drawing the arms away from the seat bones, lifting them up towards the ceiling, trying to draw them towards the wall in front of you. Lengthening the arms. The more you lengthen from the shoulders into the hands, the more space you have to keep your arms extending away from the body, lengthening away from the seat bones. And then come back to the center, bend your knees on the way up if you need to. And then just release your shoulders. Now your arms probably have that feeling they want to just kind of naturally rise outwards, that kind of energy in your arms that make your arms feel kind of light, and they want to have a bit of a life of their own. So stretch into the fingertips. Lift up the chest. Breathe evenly, stretch down into the fingertips. And then stretch your arms forwards. Turn the palms all the way out. Go back into Namaste behind the back. So walk your hands into Namaste. You can always just hold onto your elbows if there's resistance. So bring your hands into Namaste and then step or jump your feet wide. So as wide apart as your legs can go. Prasarita, padotanasana 2. So we're going to go into prasarita, padotanasana 2. If it's too strong, then you just release your arms and go into normal prasarita, padotanasana. So you lift that sternum bone up, activating the legs. So you turn the toes in, lift the legs out over the feet, up into the hips, up into the chest. And then you hinge at the hips, coming forwards, keeping the front chest lifted. And then see if you can bring your head down. But without hitting your legs forwards. Breathe evenly. So you can always release your hands if you need to. Even breaths. Okay, and then just come up to the standing position. Release your hands, go into Prasarita 1 first if you need to. And then release your arms, bring your arms out. Nice and wide, just stretch out of the arms. And then step or jump your feet back together. So feel the lightness in the wrists, in the shoulders, the energy in the arms. And then just come down onto your front. Fingertips underneath the shoulders, turn your toes under, and then come up into dog down. So your dog down may well feel different. We've done lots of work in the armpits and in the arms and in the shoulders and in the chest. So lift in that sternum bone as though you want to see your hands and beyond. And then just come down onto your knees, sit back on your heels, and then just stretch forwards into Adho virasana. Leading forwards with the sternum bone. And then just bring yourself up into a seated position. So just give me a little indication about how you're feeling. Just give me a thumbs up, sideways, down, just let me know. Good. Okay, good. So So we can do Ustrasna. So Ustrasna is sometimes known as the camel pose. So I'll show you. So you start off kind of basically sitting on your heels. Now the shins need to make really good contact with the floor. And if you find that when you come up, your shins lift off the floor, then what you can do is just give yourself a thicker base. So you can unfold your mat a little bit, your blanket even, and then just you can come onto the blanket. So your toes can hang off the edge of the blanket if you want, but when you come up, it's much easier to kind of press your shins down onto the floor. So Ustrasna, so your feet are hip, your knees are hip width apart, your feet are hip width apart. So it's not kind of virasana in that sense. So the toes aren't together. So you lift and you open the chest. So we'll just do the first stage first. So you press your shins into your shin bones into the shin skin, and then feel that as you activate the shins, your thighs really come to life. So it's that action that's going to lift us up. So press the shin bone into the shin skin and then come up onto your knees. But keep the shins really firmly placed down on the floor. And then lift up into that sternum bone. So the sternum bone really elevates up, and then bring your hands into the tops of the buttocks, and then bring your elbows in towards each other. So lifting the sternum bone up towards the ceiling, just pressing the hands into the buttock bones, and then you can draw your hands down to the backs of the thighs. Push your hands firmly into the backs of the thighs, keep that sternum bone lifting, and then you just lean back a little, pressing the fronts of the backs of the thighs through to the fronts of the thighs, turning the tailbone in, lifting that sternum bone, and then gently come up, and then sit yourself back down on your heels for a moment. So you might just want to stay at that stage. Let me show you the next stage. You probably know it anyway, but let me just show you that anyway. So you can come up, keeping the shins really activated. You come through those first stages, pushing the fronts of the thighs through to the backs of the thighs through to the fronts of the thighs, and then keep lifting the chest, and then you reach back. See if you can find your heels. Now at that stage, your shins, your thighs probably draw back. So push them forwards, lift and open the chest. And then to come up, always come up with the chest first. Bring your hands into your seat bone area. So it's a strong pose, but as you come up, try not to poke your head forwards because you strain your neck. So always come up with the sternum bone. So let's give that a go. If you don't have to reach back and find your heels, you can just stay at that stage where you kind of hold on to the backs of your thighs. If you really can't hold the pose for yourself, then you can use a chair behind you. Oh, you can use a chair behind you, and then as you reach back, you can just get hold of the legs of the chair, and then you can just gently slide your hands down. You don't go all the way. So knees hip width apart, feet hip width apart, press the shin bone into the shin skin, and then come up, lifting up into that sternum bone. Bring your hands into the buttock bones, and then walk your hands down to the backs of the thighs, pushing the backs of the thighs through to the fronts of the thighs, lifting that front chest, lifting the sternum bone. And then if you can, see if you can reach back. If you can't, don't worry, just stay at the first stage. Once you got hold of your feet, then push your thighs forwards again, lift and open the chest, and breathe. Just breathe naturally and normally. Okay, bring your hands into the seat bones, lift the chest first, come back to the center, and then just sit yourself back down. Just breathing evenly, so quite intense, but you'll get lots of energy from Ustrasna. And then just come up. If you've got the blanket underneath you, just come up, and then sit, then bring the feet into virasana, so big toes together, knees apart, and then just stretch yourself forwards just to ease out your back. And then just come up onto your seat bones, and then lay yourself down into supta baddhakonasana. Just again to just really release out your back, because those poses can be pretty strong for backs. But back bending poses, ustrasna especially, is really good for lifting your energy. So take quite a lot of energy to do, don't they, back bends? And jumping straight into ustrasana is fairly intense, but I guess we're on a time scale, so just let the back release into the floor. And then draw your knees together, pull your knees in towards your chest, just have a little rock from side to side, from top to bottom. And then rock yourself up into a seated position. Just sit yourself in cross legs for a moment. So after back bends, it's always good to turn your spine. So just sit yourself in cross legs. If you need a lift underneath your seat bones, then use a lift, a folded blanket or whatever, some blocks. Hold onto your knees and lift and open the chest, driving the spine upwards. Take a deep inhalation and then turn to the right side. And then come back to the center, hold on to the knees, lift and open your chest. Take a good deep inhalation and then turn to the right, drawing your abdomen across, your ribs across, your shoulders across. And then gently come back to the center. Just come down into your back, have a blanket for underneath your head, and then just for a moment or two, we're just going to raise the legs to viparita, karanhi. So traditionally, with viparita, karanhi, you don't normally use the blanket under the head unless your head rolls back, but this is just in preparation for sirvasana. So press the lower back, the sacrum spine into the floor, extend the legs upwards. Breathing evenly and deeply. And then just release your leg. And then just stretch yourself out along the floor. Just move your equipment out of the way so you can relax. And then close your eyes if you haven't done. Take your glasses off if you haven't done. Just to rest the face. And just allow your body to release into the floor. Just allowing the limbs to become heavy. So that your energy rises to the uppermost skin. Feeling your energy rise into the top, distribute the energy evenly through the breath. Down into the tips of the toes, into the tips of the fingers, into the top of the head. Just basking in that glow of positive energy. And then when you're ready, just gently wiggle your toes, wiggle your fingers. And then bend your knees, bring your knees into the chest. Just have a little rock, a little grounding massage on your back. Just a little rock from side to side. And then roll onto your right side. Just stay down for a breath or two. And then stretch out the top leg, come back up into seated position. And then just come into cross legs with the hands in namaste, just a final spinal lift. Draw your breath in through your nose and down into the abdomen. Be conscious of the energy that you have released through your practice this morning, that good, positive, healthy flow of clean energy that the extensions, the forward bends, the twists, the inversions bring to the body and to the mind. And then draw your chin down to meet your chest. Spend a moment to acknowledge the positive energy you've created inside. And then send some of that positive energy out into the world. And then release the backs of your hands down towards your knees, palms facing upwards. And then as you raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open and the focus to softly come back. Thank you very much. So hopefully you feel as though you have just lifted your energy, given yourself a good stretch, and got lots of good positive energy to put into your day. So thank you very much for joining me.